What's going on, everyone? I'm Jaren, and today we are talking about COBWEB. The story follows an 8-year-old boy who decides to investigate the strange noises coming from inside the walls of his own home, only to find out and unveil a dark secret that his sinister parents have kept hidden from him. Now, this was a movie that flew under the radar this past summer. It got a limited release and went up against Talk to Me on the same weekend, and we both know who went home with box office records. After the summer blockbuster slate decided to cool down, I started seeing reviews from Cody Leach and Chris Stuckman and how good this movie was, surprisingly enough, and I just couldn't help but blind buy the movie, and I'm so happy that I did. This is Samuel Bowden's feature-length directional debut, along with Chris Thomas Devlin's second writing credit since Netflix's Texas Chainsaw Massacre. And I gotta say, I saw the trailer online and I got a little bit of gothic horror vibes that kind of reminded me of a fucked up version of Coraline. Starting off with the story, I really admire how simply this sets up. Normal, happy family in the suburbs. You got your young protagonist Peter, who begins to hear knocking and voices coming from his own wall. And once he asks his parents to investigate it, check it out, they kind of dismiss it. They think that it's part of his overactive imagination. And once he begins to draw attention outside of his own home, much nefarious things begin to unveil around him. And just like falling down the rabbit hole, a lot of the dread really ramps up from there. On the technical side of things, the sound design was truly effective. Not the knocking that really gave me goosebumps right away, but it was when they started hearing the voices and when you hear some of this clicking noises and just like tapping feet drawing in. That really had my nerves rattled. I also love the cinematography, especially the way that they would kind of draw in or draw out in a spiral with the camera. In addition to that, it was also the way that they framed a jump scare. They would just mess around with a lot of the wide shots, especially using the narrow corridors of the house. Getting into the talent here, we're going to start off with Lizzie Kaplan, who's very well known for her roles in Mean Girls, Cloverfield, and The Interview, and she's one that always chose the more sarcastic and comedic roles, but I never thought I would see her take on a more motherly role, nonetheless a protective one. I mean, once Peter's teacher begins to persistently drop by and ask questions, the mother, she completely unravels quickly with her emotions and her very defensive responses. The same would go for Anthony Starr, who is very well known for his two-faced role as Homelander in The Boys. Now, if you thought that Homelander's demeanor goes from 0 to 100, Anthony Starr brings that same type of energy here as Peter's father. And there's a scene where the dad gets really upset with Peter, and then he tells him that he has to spend the night in the basement, only to randomly rip the refrigerator off the wall, and then only to reveal a much smaller door, and he's like, get down to that basement. My fucking heart dropped to the floor. Holy shit. This guy could be just cracking dad jokes in one moment, and in the next, he is holding the hammer, being very stern, and you're just frightened. We also have Cleopatra Coleman as Miss Devine, who's Peter's teacher. Now, I understand that a teacher could be really concerned about a student, but the fact that she drops by the house and starts to question the parents more than once without help just really did not add anything to the story at all, and it felt kind of unrealistic to me that even though she became suspicious the second time around and dropped by, I just didn't buy it. Now, had she been a caseworker for Child Protective Services, I think by the third visit, she should have showed up with some cops. I mean, she needed that backup for real. Woody Norman plays our young protagonist, Peter, and I gotta say, this kid is climbing up the ladder in Hollywood because he starred alongside Joaquin Phoenix in Come On, Come On. He did that Dracula horror movie, The Last Voyage of the Demeter, and here he definitely steals the spotlight. And even though that he's loved by his parents, he's bullied in school, and this comes to one of my more favorable arcs of the entire movie was how he was going to stand up to his bullies. And there is an element where he's talking to the voices in the wall, and then They sort of give him this kind of intrusive encouragement to stand up for himself. Last but not least, what the fuck was behind that wall? Well, that is your job to find out. I am not going to spoil it for you if you haven't looked it up already, if you haven't seen the movie yet. Yeah, but when we are finally revealed to what the fuck is behind that wall, the way it moves, what it's capable of, and just how fucking fast it was, I was just covered in chicken skin from legs and arms. I was so itchy. And then they decided to show its face. The CGI effect really lost me there for the moments, and I don't know. Honestly, they didn't really know how to conclude whatever this thing was, and I felt like the ending seemed a bit rushed, felt a little incomplete. Overall, this is not the best horror movie to come out this year. If anything, it was one hell of a surprise, and I'm so happy that I got to see it. Go into it knowing as little as you can, because trust me, the first half might be slow going, but the third act is wall to wall wild. Alright guys, that's all I got to share about that movie. Go ahead and check it out. It is available on digital. I am pretty sure that the Blu-ray and the DVD is in stores. And thank you guys again so much for watching. I'm Jaren Banawag. Look forward to more reviews, and I will see you guys at the movies. Take care.
Spot in the spider web, up all night, bound to their addiction to it. Lifeless eyes, they die in the pit of the spider web.